Hi, this is Mary Kay. Today I'm going to do another installment of Mary Kay's palette. We're going to be doing French Ultramarine Blue and Burnt Sienna. The French Ultramarine Blue that I'm using is Winsor Newton, and the pigment in it, if you look on the back, you can find a tiny little number that says PB29. All the French Ultramarine Blues are PB29. More importantly, though, is Burnt Sienna by Winsor Newton. It's what gives me all these beautiful colors that I get with these pigments, because this pigment is PR 101, Pigment Red 101. Sometimes it's called Indian Red. So I'm going to take my brush. I just squeezed out a little bit of French Ultramarine Blue, taking my pencil brush, and I'm just going to make a little tiny little thick puddle of French Ultramarine Blue, and I'm going to make a little square right here. That's just as thick as I can get it. And now I'm going to rinse out my brush till I have just basically almost pure water, but just a tiny bit of pigment in it. That's still too much. That's about right. And I want to make the lightest blue square that I can. Now what I'm going to do is try to get exactly halfway in between those two. And now I'm going to try to get halfway in between these two. And I'm going to try to get halfway in between those two. That might be a little, that one needs to be a little darker. Maybe this one needs to be a little darker too. There we go, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the Burnt Sienna. I'm going to rinse my brush out really well. So I'm just trying to get this almost like pure. I don't want any other colors in this. I want this just pure Burnt Sienna. So I'm going to make a little square right here, just almost like this is just almost out of the tube. Just really as strong and thick as I can get it. And then I'm going to make it as light as I can get it. So there's just hardly any pigment in this at all. Let's see how that's pretty light. No, not really. So this is the watermark. It says Arches on the paper. We're just going to ignore that. Now I'm going halfway in between. Halfway in between those two. And halfway in between those two. This one needs to be a little lighter, and this one needs to be a little darker. That's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is mix the French Ultramarine Blue and the Winsor Newton, so they're about half and half, and as dark as I can get them. So there's a bit of the Burnt Sienna. Here's a bit of the French Ultramarine Blue. That's much darker towards the blue. That one's really going to go, I don't want to get rid of that. I just want to remix it so I have a little bit in the middle. So just a little bit of blue to this one. Up. Okay, let's go a little bit more Burnt Sienna there. Okay, I'm going to go with that one there. So this is half and half Burnt Sienna and French Ultramarine Blue, and I'm going to rinse that brush out and give the lightest one of this. It's almost white there, which is what I want it to be. I'm going to go halfway in between these two, And now halfway in between those two, maybe a little bit more in there. And halfway between those two. Next, I'm going to make a color that is more blue than the black, or the middle. So, and as thick as I can make it. So there's the French. I'm just going to add just a tiny bit of burnt sienna to it. It's going to be more blue. Mostly blue. I think that the blue, so that's about right. There it is. And now I'm rinsing out my brush so that I have barely any pigment in my brush. I'm going to come over here to this one, which is almost water, halfway in between. Halfway in between those two, and then one in there. Maybe that one just a bit darker. Now the last step is I'm going to take mostly brown, burnt sienna, and add just a tiny, tiny bit of blue. I feel like it needs just a little bit more blue in there to be halfway. There we go. And then that almost all washed out. And halfway in between. Halfway in between these two. And my last spot's right in there. That one right there can be just a little darker. Okay, so this shows you all of the colors that you can get from French Ultramarine Blue and Winsor Newton Burnt Sienna. Thanks for watching.